morning, everyone. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Amy. Will the graduating class please be seated? Welcome to today's 92nd commencement ceremony. Also the celebration of our 100th anniversary. Very special day. I want to welcome the graduates, parents and families, faculty, trustees, staff, and friends. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our student speakers for this morning. From the graduating class, Juliet Rand and Sam Higgins. Juliet, from Southold, New York, entered Curtis in 2021 and is the Barbara Moscow Fellow, studying with Sherry Overholt. For Curtis Opera Theater, Juliet appeared as Baroness and First Sheep in Candide, one of the Due Ragazze in Le Nozze di Figaro, Pippic in Cunning Little Vixen, La Dame Elegante in Le Mamelle de Tiresias, and has performed in Allegro, Il Penseroso y El Moderato, as well as in the choruses of Così fan tutte, Elixir of Love, and Ariodante. Just last weekend, Juliet performed in the Curtis New Music Ensemble presentation of two works by composition faculty Amy Beth Kirsten, Savior, a theatrical work inspired by the mystical life and death of Joan of Arc, and in the world premiere of Infernal Angel, about the life of medieval knight turned serial killer Gilles de Rais. Juliet is an organist and singer for St. Patrick's Church in Southold, New York. She also sings at liturgical celebrations at Gwinnett Square Presbyterian Church in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, and sings and has played the organ for Newtown Square Presbyterian Church in Philadelphia. In the fall, she will be returning to Curtis for her master's degree. Sam Higgins from Milton, Massachusetts, entered Curtis in 2021 and is the Eula May Ferris Fellow, studying with Julia Faulkner. A passionate interpreter of both early and new music, Sam has performed with Opera Philadelphia, the Boston Symphony Pops, New Hampshire Music Festival Orchestra, Emmanuel Music, Choral Arts of Philadelphia, and New England Philharmonic, among many others. He is devoted environmental advocate, commissioning new work, Deep Blue, for string quartet and countertenor from 2024 Curtis composition graduate Adrian Wong, as a tribute to ocean conservationist Sylvia Earle. With Curtis Opera, he has performed the roles including the priest in Candide, Nero and Julia's father in The Comet and Popea, the prologue and the turn of the screw, and Dulcamara's assistant in Elixir of Love, and in the production of Handel's Allegro, Il Pensiero e il Moderato. Earlier this semester, Sam performed the premiere of From the Memory of Machines by Leah Amick. In March, he was the cover for Anthony Ross Costanzo in The Seasons, a new opera co-conceived with Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Sarah Rule at Boston's Lyric Opera. Please join me in welcoming Juliet and Sam to the stage.
It's a tight squeeze back here, sorry. Good morning, Chair Fretz, President Díaz, Provost DiBerardino, distinguished faculty, my esteemed colleagues and families and guests. I want to welcome you all to the centennial commencement of 2025. Give it up. 100 illustrious years of the Curtis Institute of Music have not only cemented this institution as the cornerstone of the American Conservatory, but have offered countless students the ability to study music at the highest level, tuition-free. I want to speak this morning about solitude and connection. Though we come from vastly different backgrounds, nearly every Curtis student I've encountered shares one trait: the ability to be alone for extended periods of time. In fact, most of our days are spent alone in a very small room. For me, the four walls of the practice room have always served as a deceptively comforting form of tranquility. When I came to Curtis back in 2021, the isolation was even more present. The COVID-19 pandemic forced my graduating class to separate ourselves from one another so that we didn't even know how another person looked beneath our face masks. It didn't help that the entering class was one of the smallest classes in Curtis's history, with only 7 undergraduate students. So it was easy for me to distance myself, eat all my meals in my room, and do what I should be doing, practicing. But understanding music innately requires connection. Music is, after all, the expression of our humanity. Without connection, I felt my music falling flat. And it wasn't until I began forming a community here that things changed. At Curtis, some of my most meaningful moments haven't involved music at all. I've had incredibly enriching performances, ones that have changed my life, like even last night, my senior recital surrounded by my wonderful family and friends. But the people here have changed my life even more. Being interrupted by friends while practicing next to one another has enriched my life. Creating sculptures out of random office supplies that Shikta and I find in the voice lounge while practicing has enriched my life. I'll be honest, even when I got attacked by a random person and hit my head on that music note bike rack outside of Lenfest, it enriched my life. And there's gotta be some proleptic irony in that. No matter how hard I try to self-discipline and isolate myself, Curtis demanded that I connect with others, and I'm so grateful that it did. I want to encourage everyone to continue to pursue connection and knowledge outside of music. For my entire life, I was told that if I had interests outside of music, I should pursue those instead. I can imagine many of my peers have been told the same. But really, it's quite the opposite. It's our shared interests and connections outside of music, literature, where we come from, public service, that demand our musical expression. And perhaps more importantly, it's also the relationships that we form with others that are worthy of pronouncement through music. Curtis is a community of musicians who are multifaceted, vibrant, and worthy of our attention. As we go forth into the world, I'm confident that we will continue to discover the beauty of literature, visual arts, humanity, culture, and philosophy. Curtis has allowed me not only to thrive as a musician, but it's taught me how to be a person with compassion and love for others. I urge us all to go forth with curiosity, expand the four walls of our practice rooms, read, write, and learn from our friends. Our teachers can only teach us so much. The rest is up to us. Thank you, Curtis, for teaching me that music is not an escape from the world, but a resonant thread which weaves together art, culture, history, and humanity, reminding us that we are not alone, but profoundly connected. Thank you.
Good morning. It is a profound honor to join you in celebrating the disciplined work and remarkable achievements of the Curtis Institute of Music class of 2025, 100 years after the founding of this extraordinary institution. Among the courses I took during my time here was a seminar on Emerson, Thoreau, and Emily Dickinson. Pulling from that class, today I want to share 3 poems by Emily Dickinson, one at the beginning, one at the middle, and one at the end of my speech, and from each draw a lesson about our beloved Curtis Institute of Music. Dickinson's first poem reminds us that music and art open us to possibility. I've changed the I pronoun to we to speak for us all. We dwell in possibility, a fairer house than prose, more numerous of windows, superior for doors, of chambers as the cedars, impregnable of eye, and for an everlasting roof, the gambrels of the sky. Of visitors the fairest, for occupation this, the spreading wide our narrow hands to gather paradise. We musicians dwell in possibility. Music allows us to communicate what words alone cannot. It opens innumerable windows and doors to emotion, memory, transformation, glimpses of something beyond ourselves. When we make music, we invite others into those possibilities. To create the best music we can is to invite a human encounter with the transcendent, an offering of paradise. Dickinson's second poem reminds us that music, like poetry, is a bridge between people. Between my country and the others, there is a sea, but flowers negotiate between us as ministry. Dickinson, a devoted gardener and botanist, enclosed this poem with a bouquet of flowers for a friend who was ill. Here, the flowers, her poems, serve as messengers crossing the sea between self and other. I think the same could be said of music. Between my country and the others, there is a sea, but music negotiate between us as ministry. Curtis has taught me that music connects us to others. The sea is a barrier separating two countries or persons. However, the sea is not an insurmountable barrier because music acts as an emissary, bridging the gap and facilitating communication. Last week, I performed with another Emily, my friend Emily Damasco, when we sang for patients at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. In the front row sat a little boy, wide-eyed and smiling, his father beside him, as we performed Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid and the duet Sull'aria che soave zeffiretto from The Marriage of Figaro. For a few minutes, music lifted the room. It offered joy. It created connection. Finally, Dickinson's third poem is about gratitude. She introduces the idea of depth by describing attempts to measure the sea. Gratitude is not the mention of a tenderness, but it's still appreciation out of plumb of speech. When the sea return no answer, by the line and lead proves it there's no sea, or rather, a remoter bed. Gratitude, Dickinson tells us, lives deeper than words. Just as the depth of the sea cannot be plumbed by line or lead, the true extent of our gratitude cannot be sounded. Still, from the depths of our hearts, we thank you. To our families and friends, to our faculty, our donors, our alumni and staff, thank you for encouraging us and guiding us, for sustaining and believing in us, for teaching and mentoring us, opening doors and windows, and for helping us become the artists we are today. To my fellow graduates, we are keepers of humankind's highest gifts. This is our calling, and it requires courage, discipline, and imagination. Rely on your creativity and trust your heart. As Curtis graduates, you carry with you everything you need to serve music and the world. Congratulations, class of 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet, and thank you, Sam. It is now my very great pleasure to award an honorary degree in absentia to John Williams. I have to say, I'll just ad-lib a little bit here, that I had the incredible good fortune to play in the Boston Symphony for a number of years, and as a result of that, I also played in the Boston Pops when John Williams was the music director. He is such an incredible, wonderful, amazing human being, on top of everything else that I'll tell you a little bit about him, but he's just such a nice man, and in so many different ways, just an amazing example of what we can become, especially considering the amount of success that he's had in his life. Unbelievably approachable, humble, and so I'm really sorry that his health does not make it possible for him to be here with us this morning. In a career spanning more than 6 decades, John Williams has become one of America's most accomplished and successful composers. He has composed the music and served as music director for more than 100 films, including Star Wars, Harry Potter, Superman, JFK, The Accidental Tourist, Home Alone, and many, many more. His 50-year artistic partnership with Steven Spielberg has resulted in many of Hollywood's most acclaimed and successful films, including Schindler's List, E.T., Jaws, Jurassic Park, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and Indiana Jones. His contributions to television music include scores for more than 200 TV films, as well as themes for NBC Nightly News, NBC's Meet the Press, and great performances on PBS. He also composed themes for the Summer and Winter Olympics. Mr. Williams has received 5 Academy Awards, 54 Oscar nominations, 7 BAFTAs, 26 Grammys, 4 Golden Globes, 5 Emmys, and numerous gold and platinum records, and nearly every possible career achievement award that we can think of. In 1980, Mr. Williams was named the 19th music director of the Boston Pops Orchestra, succeeding the legendary Arthur Fiedler. He currently holds the titles of Boston Pops Laureate Conductor and Artist in Residence at Tanglewood. Mr. Williams has composed numerous works for the concert stage, among them 2 symphonies, and concertos commissioned by several of the world's leading orchestras, including a cello concerto for the Boston Symphony Orchestra, a bassoon concerto for the New York Philharmonic, a trumpet concerto for the Cleveland Orchestra, and a horn concerto for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. In 2021, Mr. Williams premiered his 2nd violin concerto with the Boston Symphony Orchestra at Tanglewood, along with soloist Anne-Sophie Mutter, for whom he composed the work. Most recently, he composed a new piano concerto for pianist Emanuel Axe, who will premiere the work with the Boston Symphony Orchestra at Tanglewood this July. Although Mr. Williams is unable to join us today, he sent along remarks. I am grateful that Mr. DiBerardino, Provost and Dean of the Conservatory, Rock Chair of Composition Studies, will share those with our graduating students. Nick?
These words for our graduates from John Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to greet you all and express my most profound thanks for your invitation to accept a doctoral degree from your esteemed Curtis Institute. I accept this recognition as one of the highest honors any musician can achieve in his or her lifetime. We all share a great debt to the Curtis faculty, both past and present, and of course, to music itself. In my mind, at least, I think of the creation of Curtis in 1924, along with several other newly established conservatories, as setting the standard for the highest level of musical study in our then very young country. With the creation of our own American institutions, and Curtis in particular, our country finally entered the big leagues of music education, as it had been created and practiced in Europe for more than 300 years. I greatly regret that because of a recent illness, I'm not able to join you in Philadelphia at this time. My doctors tell me that I can expect a full recovery, and that at some future time, it might be possible for me to express in person my deep gratitude for the honor you've conferred on me. Joining so many great Curtis alumni is a high privilege that I will always treasure. I'd like to salute all of today's graduates and wish you well as you embark on what I'm sure will be brilliant careers in music. I also hope you will find as much joy in a life of music as I have. Thank you all very much. John Williams.
We shall now confer the honorary degree of Doctor of Music on John Williams in recognition of services rendered to music education in particular, and specifically to the Curtis Institute of Music, by virtue of the authority vested in me The officers and members of the Board of Trustees of the Curtis Institute of Music hereby admit John Williams to the degree of Doctor of Music, granting all the rights, honors, and privileges pertaining thereto.
It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished guest speaker, Hilary Hahn. Three-time and alumnus. Three-time Grammy Award-winning violinist Hilary Hahn, one of the greatest violinists of our time, melds expressive musicality and technical expertise with a diverse repertoire guided by artistic curiosity. I love the word curiosity. Nick has heard me talk about curiosity many times. Her barrier-breaking attitude towards classical music and commitment to sharing her experiences with global community have made her a fan favorite. Hahn has personally commissioned and championed works by a diverse array of more than 40 living composers, including Stephen Banks, Jennifer Higdon, Jesse Montgomery, and Carlos Simon. Hahn has related to her fans naturally from the very beginning of her career. She has committed to signings after nearly every concert and maintains and shares a collection of the fan art she has received over the course of 20 years. Her Bring Your Own Baby concerts create opportunities for parents and of infants to share their enjoyment of live classical music with their children in a nurturing, welcoming environment. Hahn's commitment to her fans extends to a long history of educational outreach. Her social media-based initiative, 100 Days of Practice, has transformed practice into a community-building celebration of artistic development. Since Hahn created her hashtag in 2017, fellow performers and students have contributed more than 1 million posts. Hahn is a prolific and celebrated recording artist whose feature albums on Decca, Deutsche Grammophon, and Sony have all opened in the top 10 of the Billboard charts. 3 of Hilary's albums have won Grammys, and her recent recording of Isai's 6 sonatas for solo violin won Gramophone's Recording of the Year. Jennifer Higdon's Violin Concerto, which was composed for Hilary and which was recorded in 2008, was awarded the Pulitzer Prize. In recent seasons, Hilary has received the Avery Fisher Prize, was named Musical America's Artist of the Year for 2023, delivered the keynote speech of the 2nd Annual Women in Classical Music Symposium, and received the 2021 Herbert von Karajan Award, among many others. She has received honorary doctors from Middlebury College and from Ball State University, where there are 3 scholarships in her name. A musically precocious child, Hilary began the violin at age 4. She came to Curtis in 1990 at age 10, graduating at age 19 in 1999 with her Bachelor of Music degree. So she is no stranger to Field Concert Hall stage. Although it must feel a little funny to be here without your violin. Yes. Welcome, Hilary Hahn.
Congratulations to all of you. I remember sitting there last century. My experience in here is all flooding back to me. I remember many performances with my heart racing, thinking, why is it so nerve-wracking when the back wall is so close? It's not that big in here. And almost all of my repertoire that I learned from 10 to 19, I personally premiered here, so I'm having a lot of kind of flashbacks also to Curtis holiday parties and quartet and everything. But this is your graduation, and so I wanted to say some words, sort of to transition my own experience actually from being a student to being a graduate, and maybe offer a little bit of some of the life lessons I've taught myself since graduating, because Curtis gave me so many tools to develop those experiences. This is such an honor to be here and to be able to speak to all of you. And thank you so much to everyone who has brought me here and helped me make it. I had a very late train last night, and I have to get back for a birthday party with my kids tomorrow. So they're kind enough to let me out of soccer duty this morning to be here, which speaks to one of my points, which is you can do everything, but not all at once. Also, thank you to my parents, who I hope are watching, because they made it possible for me to come here and to be the musician that I am. And thank you to my friends who are here, Karen and Mary. And so, yeah, I think I will start moving into my speech cards. When I think about what I've learned in life as a musician, a lot of it was hard won. Like, I learned it the hard way. And I think that that's part of life. I think not knowing what to do and figuring it out for yourself, seeing what works and what doesn't work, is what it is to be a musician out in the world. And when you're in school, you have a certain amount of support, you have people you can talk to, you have friends who are in the next practice room. I definitely relate to that. And you can also kind of watch other people and see what they do. But once you graduate, you're not privy to the behind the scenes of many people that you're around. So you can sometimes feel like you don't know what is a good decision and what isn't. Being at Curtis was so formative for me. As Roberto mentioned, I was here for every year of the 90s. And if you imagine being a very nerdy 10-year-old who wears penny loafers, pleated khakis, and sweater vests and turtlenecks, and doesn't know that curly hair doesn't need to be brushed. That I learned from my quartet mates. You don't need to brush your curly hair, you just let it air dry. So to this day, thanks to Marilyn, I let my hair air dry. And I learned so much about life, but also this was my middle school, high school, and university all wrapped in one. I did my academic requirements from 12 to 16, and I'm an only child, so my classmates, the Curtis community, was my older community members watching out for me. I felt very much like part of a family. Not everyone has the same experience at a school, but my experience was incredibly formative and positive. And here from my academic teachers, I learned critical thinking. I also learned that if you just do your homework and show up in class and speak with the teachers, you do pretty well in class and you get good grades, and I liked that. So that was good practice for life. I also learned life balance because I was touring at the same time that I was taking my classes. I would ask my friends to record class on a Walkman with a cassette, and I would listen to all the classes when I got back. I would do all my homework on the road and turn it in when I got back. So I learned how to be conscientious, balancing life and performing and all of those things at a very young age. I also got the experience of orchestra, chamber music, solo, playing new repertoire for me here, and I thought that I was going to be a chamber musician, but then the solo thing worked out sooner, and being at Curtis enabled me to explore all those avenues and just kind of flow with whatever happened. I also loved hanging out in the vocal department. So I was this young teen just having lunch up in the vocal office and going to the singers' dance classes and all of that. And Juan Diego Flores was my dancing partner in the singers' dance class. And so it was just really fun to be accepted into different worlds within this microcosm. And I think that's a good thing to remember if you've had that experience or haven't had that experience while you're here. What did that feel like? What is it like to be part of a 3D community where you have your classmates and your cohort moving through the same physical spaces, where you don't always organize when you're going to meet, you don't always control when you communicate, and you overhear people living their life as musicians. And I think that's something to take with you and just ponder for a bit. I did leave Curtis with some things I would consider gaps in my education, which I think have been remedied in the curriculum. But this was 26 years ago, and having had that really positive foundation, I was able to then kind of learn things for myself from there. I would say the gaps that I had were in representation in my repertoire and in sort of social and cultural awareness of the history of music as pertains to race, gender, ideology, nationality, and all of that. And since then, I've made a point of trying to remedy that as best I can. And I also was very unprepared for the independence of being a musician out on my own, making my own interpretations, making my own decisions. Even though my career was going full force, I did suffer from imposter syndrome for a while, and I pulled myself out of it, but I had to teach myself out of it. So that's just to say that if you experience that, you are not alone. It will be okay. You may wind up here someday, so it's fine. And I'm in the process right now of picking paint colors for my studio, which is fun, but there's something symbolic about it because I think that when you graduate, corny as it sounds, it's like getting a chance to put a fresh coat of paint on your life or your identity as a musician, and you have some new information about yourself. You are now educated with this degree, but what do you do with it? And at that point, it's a matter of personal choice. So you pick your paint color, and also you get to kind of like write on the walls if you want. So I took some paint swatches, I stole some paint swatches from the hardware store, and I wrote my little lessons for life on them, so I'll hand them to you randomly as you get your diplomas. I know it's hokey, but it's like kind of like how I was at Curtis too, like so I'm indulging it, and these are all my own personal hard-won lessons, so I hope that they mean something to you at some point in your life. And I like to think that the one you get randomly is the one that's meant for you, but again, cheesy, but just roll with it. So when you graduate, sometimes it can feel like you're falling off a cliff, or it can feel like you're floating, kind of like a disembodied sensation, no matter how well you learned when you were here, no matter how active your role was at the school, and no matter how confident you feel. Sometimes you feel really confident in school, and then you start doing the things that you prepared for, and you just don't quite know who you are, and sometimes the opposite happens. So you just really don't know, and that freedom of not knowing and the freedom of ambiguity, I think, is the opposite side of the coin from the difficulty of defining your identity, finding your path, and making life decisions that are really going to be right for you in the long run, that bring you your self-respect and contribute what you want to the world as a musician and as a citizen. So as far as identity, the thing that I see in a lot of students at all ages, and also in a lot of professionals who are feeling like they're scrutinized for their performance, soloists, conductors, ensembles, anyone who sticks out for a minute and feels like people are listening. I do see some insecurity creep in that I recognize sometimes too. And in those moments, I just remind myself, and I would like to remind all of you, to remember that you are you, and that is who you are. You are no one different than who you are. So you can't force yourself to do this thing better, or do this thing more convincingly, or do this other thing with a different perspective. Your perspective is you, and it will change every day. But why not embrace what you know you're good at? Embrace your strengths and make those really live in the moment, so that when you add something to it, you add more strengths. If we talk to ourselves as musicians like we are criticizing ourselves. Oh, I have to do that better next time. Do you know what you actually just did? And do you know what you're actually doing right now? Or are you creating a file in your mind that, oh, next time I have to do this, and this time I'm not measuring up? I think it's so beautiful to be a musician and be flawed and be human and have people see that and have people see themselves in you. In every concert you play, there's someone for whom it's the most important concert of their life. It's super meaningful to them. So you have the responsibility and the honor of inhabiting that moment for all of who you are and all of who you aren't. And who you aren't is just as important as who you are, and it will constantly change. So even though we at Curtis have very, very high standards and are expected to emerge with high standards and are expected to live up to certain standards that we may even just be putting on ourselves, we are still human beings, and what we've done here is a foundation. So I'd like to remind you to don't compete with other people, don't compare yourself, don't try to be this or that, just do it and trust it. And when you do things and you're present in the moment, then you can see where you are and what you're contributing and what you would like to see change in the world. Authenticity and instincts are two things that I often refer back to a lot, and I think that's because when I was a student, I didn't actually know what it felt like, because I was always trying to, I always liked good grades, and I always liked learning as much as I could, so I was always trying to listen to everything that was told me and really absorb it and really become it. And then that led to who I am today. But when I didn't have that input, I didn't know where to find input. So I now find input within myself. So I listen when I'm playing, I listen to every note and listen to what the music wants. I check with myself, does this feel right? And I think training yourself to feel what feels right, training yourself to feel what the music wants, training yourself to feel when you're out of your head and when you're in your head, I think those are really core steps to becoming a contributing musician in the musical community, as well as the most honest musician on stage that you can be. And those senses of right and wrong within yourself are your instincts. And I shouldn't really have to spell it out, but I think often those words are thrown around. And authenticity and vulnerability are touted as the goal, but actually it's not about what you're portraying as authentic or portraying as vulnerable, especially with social media. It's about what are you interested in? What are your particular passions and weird quirks that you feel like sharing? And what don't you feel like sharing? If you don't feel like sharing, don't share it. And as far as impact in the musical world, I think that's something that we think about a lot as we transition in different points in our lives. So I would say that for me, the most meaningful projects and the most significant contributions I've been able to make that people have told me mattered to them were the ones where I noticed that for myself, there was a gap in my experience. So the BYO baby concerts, that was because I was a new parent and everything I liked to do for relaxation turned out to be in spaces that were not baby welcoming. The activities themselves were baby friendly, but the babies were not welcome in the space. Concert halls, ballet performances, museums. People would say that the babies are welcome, but then if you bring a crying baby into the museum, it echoes and you're out of there. And so then the partitioning of the self in that particular kind of circumstance was not feeling good to me as a musician or a person. So I thought, well, I have a way I can fix that. Turns out it was a common experience for other people, and other people have done it as well from their own experience of filling the gap. The Encores project I did, the 27 Encores, came about because when I was in the decade after graduating, I was working with record labels who were saying, why don't you do like favorite encores, like a collection of encores from like the Heifetz collection or the Chrysler collection, but like your collection. And I started thinking about it, and I was saying, but everyone is doing that. And where are the new encores? What does it mean to have an encore today, written by a composer today who thinks of encores the way we think of encores, but has not written one? So that's why I did that project. It was not considered commercially viable. I actually self-financed the whole thing and got a distribution deal, and that turned out to be just the perfect moment in time for that project to emerge, because that was the beginning of when concept projects and contemporary music were being recognized as interesting to promote. And it could very well have not gone anywhere, but it went somewhere. But the thing is, it went somewhere for me, and that's really what mattered. And then I had all these new encores that I could play, and I got to know all of these composers. And that's just because I kind of rebel against being told exactly what to do. So I'll do it, but then I change it a little bit, and that's also in my nature, and there's nothing wrong with following your nature when you have a passion project. As far as community, I think that creating projects and communities where everyone wins is essential. So you get something out of it, the person you're working with to get this project out gets something out of it, and the next person gets something out of it too. So win-win-win instead of win-win. And just to conclude, I would like to talk a little bit about how to determine your path. This is a very strange, changing scenario of a world right now, and it's sometimes hard to know what to do with a career path, with creating things that express yourself, with meaning, with opinions, and I think that the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know where our story is going to go. So we only know where we are right now, and we don't actually know what's going to happen tomorrow. We have plans, but we might get injured. We might be on a flight that gets delayed. We might meet someone who says something that changes everything we've thought about, and we're, boom, off on another career path. You just really don't know. So you can make plans, but you have to take your steps one at a time. I've learned that you can make an honest mistake in a decision, and you can backtrack that honest mistake. So take risks and try things, but don't do them without thinking about how it felt when you finished that step. Because you can go back a step, but to go back an entire path when it doesn't resonate with you in a year, 2 years, 10 years is really tricky. So always assess as you go and take it step by step. Be kind, demonstrate what you want to see in the world, and live the actions that you want others to live. Pave the way when you can. An example that I have done of this is in the force majeure section of a contract, there's a clause that says no one is responsible for, no one is to blame if these things happen. And it included serious illness of the performer, but nothing about serious illness or death of performer or family member or close family member. And so in every contract, I try to negotiate that in because I can, and because as people in communities with families, we need to be able to be responsible for our community as well as for ourselves. And that's just a way, that kind of thing is a way you can pave the way when you have an opportunity. Be kind to yourself, and I think that when you leave here and when you are feeling like you're stepping off a cliff, if you can figure out a way to make it a glide. You know, people who dive off the high diving board, I'm the one who does this, like a drop down, eyes closed. But then there are people who dive off and they're running in the air and they're doing flips, and I'm like, oh, it looks so dangerous. But they have so much fun. And this is not the kind of dive where there's a body of water waiting for you at the bottom. This is a potentially long glide. And it's up to you where the ground is. And it's up to you how you land. So look around you as you glide down. Don't jump off a cliff. Don't do this and close your eyes. Look around you and notice, where could I take my first step once I land? And when you land, then land gently. And I wish that you have a life full of curiosity, as you said. And I hope that you wind up in a place that suits you, where you are happy enough and challenged in all the good ways, and where you're content. And onwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilary. A lot to think about, and you know, the fact that you speak of all of these things from experience, from personal experience, it makes it, you know, even more meaningful, because it's not, you know, this is wise advice as we know it to be, but is, you know, when you experience it firsthand, then it really, it resonates. And you do what we all hope to do. And so I think that there's a lot to think about that. Debbie?
We shall now confer the honorary degree of Doctor of Music on Hilary Hahn. In recognition of service rendered to music education in particular, and specifically to the Curtis Institute of Music, by virtue of the authority vested in me, the officers and members of the Board of Trustees of the Curtis Institute of Music hereby admit Hilary Hahn to the degree of Doctor of Music, granting all the rights, honors, and privileges pertaining thereto.
It is my pleasure to introduce someone who does need an introduction, Dr. Jean McGinn. The Ruth W. and A. Morris Williams, Jr., Chair of Liberal Arts and Senior Associate Dean of Academics, who will present the Landis Award. Jean?
I remember a stellar young student bringing muffins to class and then faxing in a paper from places like the White House and getting it in early. Reminiscent of this moment, the Joan Hutton Landis Award for Excellence in Academics is named for Professor Emerita Joan Hutton Landis. Dr. Landis served as chair of the Liberal Arts Department for 24 years and was an inspiring teacher, mentor, and avid supporter of young musicians' careers. Thanks to Dr. Landis's leadership, the study of great literature and art is a vital part of the Curtis curriculum. Students who took a poetry or Shakespeare class with her can attest to her inventive wit and intellectual gifts, and to the ways in which her extraordinary teaching broadened and deepened their Curtis experience and their lives as artists. Today, I am very pleased to award the 2025 Joan Hutton Landis Award for Excellence in Academics to Anya Lewis and Elliot Sloss. Is unable to join us today. Please join me in celebrating his achievement.
It is my pleasure to now introduce Mr. Jonathan Cooper-Smith, the Chair of Musical Studies, who will present the Aldwell Award. Jonathan?
The Curtis Musical Studies curriculum is based upon the rigorous study of traditional musical craft. We believe that an intimate knowledge of the musical techniques as practiced by the great composers themselves brings us closest to their music. The Edward Aldwell Award for Excellence in Musical Studies, established in honor of Edward Aldwell, who served on the Curtis Musical Studies faculty for 35 years, is presented to a graduating student who has demonstrated outstanding ability and performance in musical studies throughout their undergraduate years at Curtis. It is my pleasure to present the 2025 Edward Aldwell Award for Excellence in Musical Studies to Elliot Sloss. Elliot is unable to join us, so please join me again in recognizing his achievement.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Mary Javian, the Chair of Career Studies, who will present the Provost's Award for Achievement in Career Studies. Mary?
Good morning, everyone. The Curtis Career Studies curriculum provides opportunities for Curtis students to build necessary skills in technology, pedagogy, entrepreneurship, and community-based projects, often in partnership with organizations around Philadelphia. It is my great pleasure to present the 2025 Provost Award for Achievement in Career Studies to Isa Wu.
It is my pleasure to now introduce Ms. Patricia Carpino, Curtis's Senior Associate Dean of Student Affairs, who will present the Provost's Award for Outstanding Citizenship.
Welcome home, Hilary. And it is not lost on me that I graduated college the year you got here, which is surreal. Students come to Curtis to become great performers during their enrollment, learn that who they are is every bit as valuable to the school community as what they do. The Provost's Award for Outstanding Citizenship recognizes a graduating student that has contributed to the Curtis community through their integrity, compassion, involvement, responsibility, and respectfulness. I'm thrilled and pleased to present the 2025 Provost's Award for Outstanding Citizenship to Christopher Correa.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. David Bahanovich, Associate Provost, who will present the Milka Violin Artist Prize and the Angelo Silvestro Festorazzi Scholarship. David?
The Milka Violin Artist Prize is awarded to a graduating violinist who is committed to participating in international violin competitions during the year after graduation. The prize is funded by Mr. George Marco Totevi and the Marco Totevi Foundation in memory of Mr. Marco Totevi's mother, Milka, who was a gifted teacher of young violinists for many years. It gives me great pleasure to present the 2025 Milka Violin Artist Prize to Jin Young Yoon. Jin Young Yoon is unable to join us today, but please join me again in recognizing her achievements. The Angelo Silvestro Festorazzi Scholarship was established by the estate of Marguerite Festorazzi to recognize promising voice students. It gives me great pleasure to present the 2025 Festorazzi Scholarship to Emily Damasco.
It's my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Daniel Matsukawa, who will present the Hunter, Johnson, and Vernon Woodwind Prize. Danny?
Before I present the Wind Award or the Woodwind Prize, if I may just quickly say I'm so proud of all of you and congratulations. How do I say this? It's been an honor to get to watch you, see you, and equally important, listen to all of you evolve during your time here. I love the concept of launching, and in a few moments, you'll be launched out into the world. Also, in a few moments, we will be peers, so you can call me Danny or Daniel. It's up to you. Sam and Juliet both mentioned the importance of meaningful connections and how music connects us all to one another. So I hope that we will continue to keep those meaningful connections. Created by Curtis alumni Marcia Hunter, her husband Brian Johnson, and longtime Curtis patrons Dr. Thomas and Mrs. Patricia Vernon, the Hunter, Johnson, and Vernon Woodwind Prize honors an outstanding woodwind musician as selected by the woodwind faculty. It gives me great pleasure to present the Hunter, Johnson, and Vernon Woodwind Prize to Julin Chung.
I would like to now reintroduce Mr. Bahanovich, Associate Provost, who will present the Fritz Chrysler Award.
Created by and named for our longtime Curtis patron, the Charles Miller Award honors outstanding musicians through 3 established prizes: the Fritz Chrysler Award for violin, the Sergei Rachmaninoff Award for piano, and the Alfredo Casello Award for composition. The award is given on a rotating basis to students who have excelled in these areas. It gives me great pleasure to present the 2025 Fritz Chrysler Award to Maya Buchanan.
It is my pleasure to invite Provost DiBerardino, Provost and Dean of the Conservatory, Rock Chair in Composition Studies, who will present the Schwartz Foundation Prize in Composition. Nick?
Supported by the Schwartz Foundation, this prize is awarded to a graduating composition student who will compose a new chamber music work to be premiered at an upcoming performance attended by the composer. It gives me great pleasure to present the 2025 Schwartz Foundation Prize to Alastair Coleman.
And now I will reintroduce Dr. McGinn, who will present the Presser Scholar Award. Jean.
Through the generosity of the Presser Foundation, Curtis is able to recognize the outstanding achievement of a graduating student who exemplifies high academic and musical accomplishment, leadership, and citizenship through the Presser Scholar Award. It gives me great pleasure to present the 2025 Presser Scholar Award to Sam Higgins. Commencement exercise at a music school. What celebration, birthday celebration of a centenary is complete without music? It's now my pleasure to introduce Amy Young, class of 2006, and Anna Polonsky, class of 99. Amy's going to perform The Last Song by Clarice Assad, and they both will perform together with mischief, I imagine, Maurice Ravel's Le Jardin Féerique from Ma Mère Loire.
Thank you. Thank you for indulging me with that piece. Provost DiBerardino will now present the candidates for the Curtis Institute of Music Certificate, Diploma, and Post-Baccalaureate Diploma.
Will the candidates please rise? Mr. President, I present for the certificate, diploma, and post-baccalaureate diploma of the Curtis Institute of Music these candidates who have been approved by the faculty and the provost.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I confer upon you this diploma, officially signed and sealed with the seal of the corporation, in recognition of the honorable and satisfactory completion of your studies at the Institute.
Jackson Allen, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada, majoring in opera with Mr. Levini. Benoit Gauthier, Baie-Comeau, Quebec, Canada, majoring in conducting with Maestro Neze Segan and Maestro Ross. Julin Chung, Seattle, Washington, majoring in flute with Mr. Kaner. Quartet, Elizabeth Caitlin Stewart, Josip Rema, Maria Raisinen, and Stergios Theodoridis, string quartet in residence, studying with the Dover Quartet. Will the graduates please be seated?
Provost DiBerardino will now present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Music.
Will the candidates please rise? Mr. President, I present for the degree of Bachelor of Music these candidates who have been approved by the faculty and the provost and who have met the requirements of the State Board of Education of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I confer the degree of Bachelor of Music, admitting you to all the rights and privileges which pertain to that degree throughout the world, in token of which I present this degree officially signed and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Samuel Higgins, Milton, Massachusetts, majoring in voice with Ms. Falconer. Maya Mor Mitrani, in absentia. Sir Moshe Israel, majoring in voice with Ms. Faulkner. Juliet Renee Rand, Southold, New York, majoring in voice with Ms. Overholt. Alexandra Corman, in absentia, Brussels, Belgium, majoring in violin with Ms. Kavafian. Yizelin Liang, Shanghai, People's Republic of China, majoring in viola with Mr. Díaz, Mr. Gazaleas, and Ms. Huang. Anya Victoria Lewis, Cleveland, Ohio, majoring in cello with Mr. Kanalakis, Mr. Hoffman, Ms. Kendall, Ms. Lee, and Mr. Wiley. Elliot Sloss, in absentia, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, majoring in cello with Mr. Kanalakis, Mr. Hoffman, Ms. Kendall, Ms. Lee, and Mr. Wiley. Daniel Benedict, Oak Park, Illinois, majoring in harp with Ms. Hainan. Christopher Correa, Long Beach, California, majoring in oboe with Ms. Needleman, Mr. Tondra, and Mr. Woodhams. Simon Gregory Bakos, in absentia, Mason, Ohio, majoring in clarinet with Mr. McGill and Mr. Zhai. Christine Annalise Ott, Rochester, New York, majoring in horn with Mr. Lang and Ms. Montone. Will the graduates please be seated?
Provost DiBerardino will now present the candidates for the degree Master of Music.
Will the candidates please rise? Mr. President, I present for the degree of Master of Music these candidates who have been approved by the faculty and the provost and who have met the requirements of the State Board of Education of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Music admitting you to all the rights and privileges which pertain to that degree throughout the world, in token of which I present you with this degree, officially signed and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Alastair John Coleman, Washington, D.C., majoring in composition with Dr. Danielpour, Dr. Higdon, Dr. Holland, Dr. Kirsten, Dr. Ludwig, Dr. Mackey, and me. Isabella Isa Wu, Madison, Wisconsin, majoring in organ with Mr. Brillhart and Mr. Morrison. Emily Damasco, Glen Mills, Pennsylvania, majoring in opera with Ms. Zajic and Ms. Faulkner. Sarah Fleiss, North Bergen, New Jersey, majoring in opera with Ms. Faulkner. Robert Frazier, Star Lake, New York, majoring in opera with Mr. Schneibly. Evan Gray, Winterthur, Switzerland, majoring in opera with Mr. Schneibly. Kylie Amanda Kreuscher, Novi, Michigan, majoring in opera with Ms. Faulkner. Dalia Medovnikov, Woodbridge, Connecticut, majoring in opera with Ms. Faulkner. Emily Kealani Suarez, San Francisco, California, majoring in opera with Ms. Faulkner and Ms. Patenode Yarnell. Juliet Taquino, Nice, France, majoring in opera with Ms. Patenode Yarnell. Katie Trigg in absentia, Nani Apori Aotearoa, New Zealand, majoring in opera with Ms. Faulkner. Maya Anjali Buchanan, Rapid City, South Dakota, majoring in violin with Ms. Kavafian. Yihao Cheng, Taoyuan, Taiwan, majoring in violin with Ms. Goto, Ms. Kavafian, and Mr. Rosand. Ji-won Kim, Seoul, Korea, majoring in viola with Mr. Amory and Ms. Huang. Alyssa Warcup, in absentia, Geneva, Illinois, majoring in viola with Mr. Díaz, Mr. Gazuleas, and Ms. Huang. Jin Young Yoon, in absentia, Seoul, Korea, majoring in violin with Ms. Goto, Ms. Kavafian, Ms. Keefe, and Mr. Rosand. Hoon Choi, Seoul, Korea, majoring in cello with Mr. Bray, Mr. Kanalakis, Mr. Hoffman, Ms. Kendall, Ms. Lee, and Mr. Wiley. Jiayan He, Shanghai, People's Republic of China, majoring in cello with Mr. Bray, Mr. Kanalakis, Mr. Hoffman, Ms. Kendall, Ms. Lee, and Mr. Wiley. Han Xiao Deng, Shaman, People's Republic of China, majoring in double bass with Mr. Meyer and Mr. Robinson. Demetrios Mattis, St. George, Utah, majoring in double bass with Mr. Meyer and Mr. Robinson. Gabriel Nishikawa Madden, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, majoring in bassoon with Mr. Matsukawa. Kristen Andlauer, in absentia, Roxbury, New Jersey, majoring in horn with Mr. Lang and Ms. Montone.
Will the entire graduating class please rise? I am pleased to present to all of you the class of 2025. Will the graduates please be seated? You have just become members of a very, very special group. Now I would like to introduce our very good friend, Adrian Anatawan, Violin, 2006, who will welcome you on behalf of Curtis alumni worldwide. Adrian?
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. And as I was saying before, on behalf of alumni here in this space, around the world, past, current, and future, welcome, class of 2025, to an incredible community of future colleagues, musicians, but most importantly, just family. So congratulations again, a round of applause for you. Whether you're moving to the next phase in your career and you're about to start performing very soon, whether you're off to further studies, my hope is that you're just taking this moment right now to be present with each other, to be able to know that hopefully summer break is on its way and you have a little bit of space to be able to take stock of your incredible achievements over these past years. As Hilary was saying, this space is really small, and yet at the same time it is filled with this sense of world and community. All of you coming from different geographies, cultures, and really centering yourselves upon these common values of what it means to be a musician in this world, what it means to try to make this world a more beautiful place, especially in the midst of so many challenges that we see in the news and around us in our localities, whether they be here in Philadelphia, within this country, or within this world. Your work will continue to shine a light upon what it means to respond with care, compassion, and kindness. The last time I was here on this stage was just like all of you, about 20 years ago, receiving my diploma. But a few of my memories, or most of my memories, actually come from where you're sitting right now, because this was the space where our orchestra used to rehearse. In particular, lab orchestra was one of my favorites. We rehearsed 2 times every week for a few hours. And we had a conductor, a wonderful human named Otto Werner Müller. Some of you might know him in this space. And I remember a couple key phrases: forte only, and never encourage the brass. Those are the 2 big things he came up with. And I wonder if it was because this space was so small that perhaps everything just seemed a little bit louder. But I think in a different sense, I think his call to displaying strength with restraint and humility and respect for the intentions of the composer were primary to what we all want to do as musicians, and that is to be in service of the voice of the composer, in service of the score, and never centering our own egos as we continue to interpret these great masterpieces, to be able to interpret new pieces of music, and to imagine and dream with curiosity the incredible work that is to come in this field. So your world outside of this space is about to get a lot bigger, and I think that because of that, there are so many big questions that you're probably thinking about. And how do you use your gifts? How do you use these privileges of a Curtis degree, of this way of thinking, of using music or leveraging music in some way to address the most pressing social concerns of our time? Some of you might be thinking, what does it mean to just survive and make a meaningful life within this field in a world that sometimes sees the music that we do as not necessarily relevant to society or entertainment or what we believe music to be? And all I say is that these are big questions that you do not have to answer alone. You have this community here in this space. I know that many of you over decades will continue to be family and colleagues with each other, to be able to not only make beautiful music, but just know each other outside of your careers and to connect as human beings. You also have this incredible legacy of the past 100 years to just continue to leapfrog upon and to continue to build and to continue to expound the very best ideals of what it means to be a leader, what it means to be an innovator, and especially within the context of a conservatory, what it means to disrupt the field as well. I think that we pay a lot of attention to the past and honoring traditions and standards don't necessarily mean to be in this world of standardization. What the world needs just like everyone has been saying, is just the most humble, honest, true versions of yourselves. I look out and I think about myself 20 years ago and how little I knew of the world. And working with some of you in the Career Studies Department over the past semester, to just see how much you care about the social issues that are personal to you. All of you come with very specific stories, backgrounds that you care about. And that connection of that legacy of privilege and music, these are all things that I hope that you continue to find hope within yourselves and each other. In short, welcome to this community, and we are so glad to have you here. Bravo.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you. Thank you for being with us and coming home. Well, here we are. We are at the end of this celebration, which is the end of one chapter and also the beginning of the next. It's exciting, it's daunting, it's a little scary, and there's tremendous excitement. I think that the work we do has never been more important, more necessary. But at the same time, I think, you know, for me, to think about some of the messages that we've gotten today, Hilary, huge thanks again for making the time to be with us. I know you have so many obligations and so many demands on your time, and you know, for you to make the time to be with us and to come back home and to speak to us about your experiences and how you've gone through some of the big challenges that come with an incredibly successful career. It's important for us to hear that. But also I think it's a good time for us to also think about how lucky we are. I mean, if you think about it, everyone in this room is incredibly important at making possible what we've received. And I include myself in that. We have been the recipients of incredible generosity and hard work. And I think that it's important for us to think about how, in many different ways, in incredibly creative ways, how it's our turn to give back. But I have to say that I am also incredibly grateful for the work that you, the graduates, have done for Curtis in the years that you've been here. Some of you just a few years, some of you many more years. And we owe you for that work a huge thanks, because we, Curtis, are who we are because of the work of not just our faculty and our staff and our trustees, but also the incredible dedication of our students. So I thank you for that. I'm excited about what the future brings for all of you. And I hope that you remember that every time you come back, you're coming home. This will be your home forever. You will be each other's colleagues for the rest of your lives. And together, it'll be amazing to see what you can accomplish. So I wish you all the very best. I thank you for all you've done and for what you're about to do. And enjoy your summer. Thank you.
Congratulations again to the class of 2025. Would everyone please rise for the graduate procession?
Thank you.